All right, so this chapter is talking about geologic time and dating of rocks. So a good word to think about, or a good concept to think about with all this, is something called uniformitarianism. What uniformitarianism means is that laws today were the same as they were way back when. So like 65 million years ago, we used the same laws of physics and everything. It's like something you've heard before, time symmetry, back in chapter 1, very same thing. So with that, we'll talk about relative dating of rocks. Relative dating is just saying something in relation to one another, if something is older or younger. So the first one to think about is superposition. All that says is that a rock that's laid down on top of another rock is younger than the one on the bottom. It's like putting clothes in your laundry hamper. The clothes that are at the bottom of the hamper have been in there longer than the ones at the top. Next is original horizontality. So you could see rocks out like in the canyon and everything that have bedding planes that look like this. They're all at angles. But when they were originally deposited on the earth, they were actually deposited flat. So you know that something had to happen in between being deposited flat and being turned up at an angle. Yeah. All right, third thing is inclusions. So inclusions is where you have a big chunk of rock and you have all these little ones that are just kind of sprinkled throughout it. These ones included in it are younger than the surrounding rock. That rock had to be there first in order for something to come in around it and like give it a hug. Fourth one is intrusions, or you can also call it cross-cutting. So intrusions or cross-cutting. What that is that you have your chunk of rock, but then all of a sudden you can have this little spike of rock coming through it. This is an intrusion, or again, cross-cutting. It's just cutting right across it. This here is younger than everything surrounding it. The other rock had to be there first before it can cut through it. Then lastly, we have faunal succession. This one is very similar to superposition, except you use fossils to determine which one is older or younger. So let's say that I have a dinosaur in one layer and a dog in another. We know that dinosaurs are way older than dogs, so any kind of rock layer containing a dinosaur has to be older than a rock layer containing a dog. So something else to think about is called an unconformity. All that is just a weird gap in time that we don't know what happened in between this age and another age. And then finally, the last thing to think about is the differences between like absolute dating and relative dating. Relative dating, like I said, is when you just relate if something is older or younger than something else. Absolute dating is where we give it a definitive number. We do this by radioactive dating. We have this thing called the parent isotope and the daughter isotope. If there's more daughter isotopes than the parent isotopes, we know that it has to have gone a lot of half-lives, and it has to be significantly older than what we think it must be. And so we count those to figure out how old it's been, to figure out how many half-lives it's gone through. And that is the end of chapter 28.